most women cycle so that their moon time is 2 weeks after full moon, which is a period known as dark moon or new moon. And this is when, if you were to go out camping in the bush, it'd be so dark you wouldn't be able to see in front of you to go do a picnic with. But because full moon is the time when everyone, wants to come out and, have parties and celebrations, this is when most women tend to ovulate. So that's when they're putting out their pheromones that go, yeah, baby, I'm in the mood, or I'm up for meeting somebody. So for us to have an understanding of that cyclic nature, knowing that as women we are ruled by the moon, and that the moon rules our emotional state, by attuning ourselves and structuring our lives to take into account not just the linear rational time, but also the cyclic lunar time, means that we come into balance. And we also, it's the fastest way to heal our feminine side, which is our emotional, spiritual self-expression and understanding within our psyche. And with an understanding of that, each dark moon, just like the Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon, that's, as the lunar energy wanes from full down to dark, that's when we become increasingly inward and need to honour our sensitivity by meditating, having ritual baths, by drawing and then scrying and reading the drawings in terms of the colours and the symbols that we've used, so that we're starting to understand the landscape of symbols that is our soul or our subconscious trying to communicate to the 10% rational mind what our lessons are that month. Because our moon time, which for most women occurs around the dark or new moon, is when we are most psychically open. Okay, and this is why the idea of women gathering together at this time has been feared and then demonised politically down through the ages over the last 2,000 years during the patriarchal consciousness. Prior to that, we had matriarchal, matrilineal, matrifocal societies, and these were just as unbalanced. Women withheld the power from men, such as the first 17 dynasties of the Egyptian Empire. Men weren't allowed to vote or hold positions of state. They had to stay home, work the loom, look after the kids. So, matriarchy preceded patriarchy, and now what's exciting is since 2002, numerologically being about balance, we're learning how to find that inner balance of yin and yang. And so for women who have incarnated into the West, we have a big job to do in terms of reclaiming and healing the feminine within ourselves. And when we do that in the microcosm, we then heal it in the macrocosm. So understanding the lunar cycle is absolutely, critical and a primary part of that. So just as we're in the maiden phase leading up to full moon is the time of the queen and the mother. It's when we feel, like in Macbeth, full of the milk of human kindness. It's also when the light of the moon reflects the light of the sun. So this is when, we do well around our beloved. Those in a tantric relationship, for instance, will make that their special date night. And if we are to really dance harmoniously with our opposite at full moon, we equally need to honour that at the opposite time of the month, at dark or new moon, we need to draw in and honour intimacy, intimacy with ourselves. Because if we can't fully dance harmoniously with ourselves through self-acceptance, self-understanding, we can't then dance externally, with our beloved harmoniously. So at dark moon, it is a little death, so to speak. It is a very humbling time where we are put in our human frailty to look at our own shadow And like Peter Pan, the boy that didn't want his shadow stitched on because he didn't want to grow up and become a man, for young girls, this is a time where we will be put in our vulnerability, and it will be humbling for us to confront our own shadow. And if we don't understand it as that, we will see the shadow in those around us. It might be our girlfriends, and we feel like drama queens and bitchy and gossipy about, oh, I can't stand whatever behaviour they're doing, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to turn that intolerance, judgment and hypersensitivity around and go, well, what are they mirroring for me? Yeah, I'm feeling very sensitive. There's a big emotional charge. So therefore, this must be something I'm denying in myself if it's, presenting as such a big deal outside of myself. So when we learn to accept that shadow, then we can accept it in others. So this is part of the work that would be done in the Moon Lodge or the Red Tent. Each month we would look at the sign that the moon is in. For instance, as we're filming this, it is dark moon in Aries. And so knowing that, we know that what's being triggered at the moment is, for a start, the child, because Aries is the child within us, but also Aries is the warrior. And so, we would look at, okay, where am I feeling frustrated in my life at the moment? Because Aries is a fire sign, and we might do an art therapy exercise, or we might just have a sharing circle and a talk about what we're feeling frustrated about, and pull an oracle card for insight and guidance, so that it's not just a rant, but rather focusing on what our lesson is. For instance, if you don't have an empowered warrior archetype, you will do one of two things. You will either be very unconsciously active, so you will act out and not think about the effects of your actions on others. For instance, road rage, or you might blow off steam and dump your anger all over someone and not realise that, that was perhaps, an invasion of their energetic or emotional space. Similarly, since the Aquarian cusp of the 60s and 70s, a lot of men have been very emasculated, and so they find it hard to access their inner warrior. So they find it hard to pursue women. They find it hard to assert themselves. They find it perhaps hard to even access their anger in a healthy way. So a lot of women can find that around this dark moon with the moon energy in Aries, they have been talking or thinking about doing something but haven't taken action on it. So feelings of frustration can surface as a sign that, wow, it's time I put my money where my mouth is and took action on this project. So depending on the sign, the astrological sign that the moon is in, that will be a theme for the Red Tent or the Moon Lodge.